Speaking of courageous revelations, Rashmi ji herself has been through such an incident, very unfortunate. What's your take on the whole thing that has happened? And do you think that these days he has said that, Karan has said he was called homophobic, he was called Islamophobic, he was called a Hindu nationalist, and he was called many other things. But do you think that people are now being persecuted for their preferences?
Namaste, Shreya ji, and thank you so much for having me on this show. Firstly, on the outset, I think I totally agree with Panditji's points here, and that LSE needs to take responsibility for what's happening to its student on campus, and that as a diverse community that vouches, to curate a safe, secure learning environment for its students, it needs to do more to ensure equality and unbiased treatment to all its students. That being said, I think this decade we see a rise on such incidents on campuses. I mean, when my incident happened at the University of Oxford, and despite being the rightfully elected president of the Oxford Student Union in a historic election with, landslide margins, for then to be, forced to resign from a democratically elected position um, due to similar allegations of transphobia, racism, anti Semitism, and whatnot, um, directed at my Hindu identity, and, somehow contorted into the fact that Oxford is not ready for a Hindu president. I think that shows that there is a deeper undercurrent of institutional bias and lack of, instruments to deal with it. The moment somebody accuses an institution of institutional Islamophobia or anti-Semitism, there are definitions which are already adopted. There are frameworks in place that then come into force to protect these students and to evaluate these circumstances. But when it comes to hatred against Hindus, their stereotyping and their profiling, there is often a lack of understanding of the basis on which these accusations are coming out. And more often than not, these stereotypes are actually reinforced by so called academic studies. If you go out there and look at books, research papers in the social sciences or history itself, you'll find papers which say Islamophobia is bad, and these are the circumstances of Islamophobia, these are the circumstances of an Islamophobic incident. However, there are books and studies which go on stereotyping and misappropriating Hindu practices based on colonial tropes, based on tropes of other invaders who occupied the dharma bhumi, the janma bhumi of Hindu dharma, which is Bharat. So then there is this sort of carrying forward of the misappropriated tropes that Hindus are somehow fascists, whilst they've been the most persecuted community, ever in the history of time. First by the Mughals, then by the British, and I think the saga just continues. But then you find papers, you find books telling a complete other story, that somehow Hindus are the aggressors. So it's a clear case of continued misinformation that's been amplified using media, popular culture, films, and whatnot for for decades, for even centuries, I suppose. Now, and it just is coming to the surface now, because misinformation has its consequences. We saw that when the Jews were persecuted in Germany, misinformation was step one. So currently what we are seeing in this century is that this misinformation is translating to real time problems on campus. It's resulting in a Rashmi incident on an Oxford campus. It's resulting in a Karan incident at the London School of Economics. I think we also had another student, Tejaswini Sudhakar, come out on Twitter yesterday evening saying that she was harassed on LSE campus for supporting Karan in his campaigns. So it's also an independent case of harassment bullying of another Hindu student of Indian origin on an academic campus. And you see that all this kind of finds its basis in this single rooted sort of campaign that's been perpetuating for a very long time now through different mediums. That being said, I'd like to say that it's not just, limited to the United Kingdom. We saw what happened at the Rutgers campus in the United States. We also have, news and fights breaking out at the JNU in the Indian national capital of Delhi from time to time, based on such issues where, Hindu festivals are, often disturbed in their celebrations. So, fights break out and, people are not allowed. And then there are slurs, anti-Brahmin slurs written, that there are threats to violence against people belonging to a certain sub-community who are proud of their origins, who are proud of their dharma. So we see this continued trend on academic campuses across the world and beyond academia as well. So I think it's a deep-rooted problem, and something, if we look at with wider lens, goes beyond the campus of LSE and Oxford. These are just symptoms of a much, much bigger problem.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.